Come on, we're about to start. Hope you enjoyed the local lunch. Some of us are still enjoying it. One of your company can join the first row. Okay, please grab a seat. All the participants can join the first section. The colored chairs for the participants. I know the first row is a bit intimidating. Okay. Okay, I know there's a lot of people joining us online. We actually had a great impact on social networks. So they're going to be learning about who's receiving the awards from the EIT Food and Blendhub Affordable Nutrition Scale-Up Challenge. But first, we're going to listen to a great guest speaker. His name is Andreas Blutner. He's a former Bill and Melinda Gates employee working at the nutrition section, actually managing big impact projects. He could talk about many different things that you will not find in his bio, actually, that are very interesting as well. But today, we're going to talk specifically about food and nutrition. He's the CEO of a company he founded himself and working a lot on impact investment. Today, offline, we actually had a great roundtable where we talked about how to build a compelling business case for impact investment. And a lot of what we're building today in food innovation is about creating impact, but with sustainable business models, right? So I'm going to give the floor to Andreas. Please, a big round of applause for him. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Pablo, for the warm introduction. It's great to be here, just moving back from Seattle after I was there, the director of nutrition, and had the chance to work on many things that relate to what we do here today. But let me first welcome everyone here, also online, and express my big thanks for having me and hosting that amazing Scale-Up Challenge. And I'm great it's called a Scale-Up Challenge, because scale and impact is what we want to achieve. But first, a big thanks to Imna and Hendrik Christensen, who are the founders of Blendhub and are really an example of creating a shared value business. Thanks also to EIT, to really investing in B2B partnerships like the ones we see here today. And also thanks to all of you scale-ups dedicating your passion and your entrepreneurial spirit into your venture, and we hope that we can make a difference today. Thanks also to all the representatives of the media and the participants, and last but not least, my team who helped me to set me up for that speech today. So the EIT Food Innovation Challenge, Scaling Up Affordable Nutrition, I was asked to kind of provide an inspirational speech, and the question I'm often asked is, Andreas, is it kind of a cookbook? Can you give us a recipe for kind of creating a scale-up business model? The checkbox system, and I've worked on these checkbox systems. They're great, but they are not one size fits all. So is it maybe an art? Yeah, it is a little bit of art, and I think I'm not sure you can see the piece of art here. So I think it's a great place and inspirational as such to be here. But is it also maybe a bit of science? And I would say, yeah, it's a technical discipline, often rated to create a partnership business impact case, because we are living in a hybrid world. Not only this event is hybrid, not only some of the cars we drove here are hybrid, but I think there's a lot of tailwind for hybrid business cases, and it is a new discipline. You cross boundaries, you need to translate, you need to be aware of that. So the complexity and the opportunities, I think, are greater than ever. But getting back to the question, what does it take to really scale up an idea? And I think it starts with the mindset, as so often. So we've heard it today, 1 + 1 needs to equal more than 2. The sum needs to be greater than the sum of its parts. And from 6 years advising WFP Innovation Accelerator as a mentor, I've seen a pattern what successful scale-up entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, if they're part of a greater ecosystem, have. And I think it's the visionary mindset paired ideally with an execution, I would say, ability, this kind of growth mindset, really having that vision and striving for it, the optimism to really overcome challenges combined with, I think, a certain adaptability and the diligence and grit. It is a journey. It takes time, and you really need to put a lot of energy and also, I would say, an openness towards technological opportunities, which not only for production, but also in the age of digitization make a big difference. So when I talk about the mindset, and I think Hendrik in his speech this morning already addressed it, that's the good news. There's no shortage of challenges. And challenges for disruptive innovators are opportunities. So what are the challenges, the limitations you really kind of can take on here, and you are taking on here? 3 billion people worldwide are at the risk of micronutrient deficiencies. And it's not only developing countries where we see 850 million people going to bed hungry every night, and women and children being the most vulnerable. And if you want to say so, the most valuable targets of improved nutrition, because, I mean, good nutrition improves opportunities over a lifetime. And if you take metrics into account, disease-adjusted life years you can save if you kind of invest in children or in the first 1,000 days, even if with pregnant women, I mean, this kind of produces benefit over a lifetime and then makes nutrition one of the best investments into human development. 3 billion potential customers are really waiting for solutions to be brought to them. Amazing business opportunity. 850 million people going to bed hungry, 60 billion euros. It costs that Germany has obese people, and 150 billion euro is an estimated direct and indirect cost of obesity in the EU. So the notion of making transparent what people eat and allowing them to really understand their dietary needs and meeting them in a different way, I think is, again, a huge opportunity. 40% of the food worldwide is wasted. In Africa, mostly from the producer to the shops due to logistical challenges. In Europe, mostly it arrived already at retail or at the consumer's plate, and it's wasted there. Disrupt that. And I'm working on a couple of projects, also on a board member assignment, for example, AI, predicting food waste in the supply chain. There's multiple ways of doing it. But I mean, circular approaches like we have seen here, I think is a fantastic opportunity for ingredient producers to make a huge difference in reducing the food waste. The competing use of food in the global landscape is another area to look into and disrupt it at different angles. Soybeans, one of the largest edible oil crops in China, 40% of that is used for animal feed. In the US, 40% of that is used for biofuels. And then you have a food price crisis, and edible oil is one of the most calorie-dense foods people in poverty tend to eat. It's so fundamental for frying and cooking healthy vegetables, for example. So I think we can no longer afford that people in Africa compete with animals somewhere else. So find solutions for synthetic productions of edible oil with fermentation, for example. Find solutions for feeding these animals in a different way, or find solutions for synthetic fuels. And agriculture, last not least, accounts for around about 20% of all the greenhouse gas emissions, if I'm not mistaken. So there's tons of opportunities being in the agricultural capital of Spain here, if not to say the EU, when it comes to fruit production. I think there's a huge opportunity to just make farming more climate smart. Thank you for taking these challenges on and putting, your personal energy and opportunities behind that, because we not only need to challenge that status quo, but we need to do it systemically and lasting. I think otherwise it's not going to be at scale. Let me put forward two examples, I think, where one can learn a little bit from success and failure, which one is the food fortification initiative I founded at BASF, which at the end of the day brought micronutrients to 600 million people worldwide. How was that possible? It was a dedicated team we had. We had, a company backing us up, but it's also B2B partnerships with millers. It's public-private partnerships with the UN, committed nonprofits, also the Gates Foundation at the end of the day. And it's also that we accepted right from the beginning, it needs to be a balance between impact and humanitarian goals on the one hand side, but don't overplay it, in particular at the beginning. You need to be economically sustainable. So accept there needs to be a commercial business case, and that's not an either or. You're not just a humanitarian person or just a business person. I think it's that blend that is the ingredient of success here. I've also had the privilege to work with Emmanuel Faber when he still was heading the Danone communities in Bangladesh, and partnered with Mohammed Yunus, who is unfortunately a bit under political pressure in Bangladesh, and I hope he can resolve that. My deepest sympathy for him. I've met him several times in person. And we created a fully fortified yogurt, 90 grams, and in absence of a cooling chain that was homogenized, this yogurt. So you lose some, by pasteurization, you also lose some nutrients in the yogurt, but you can put it back with added nutrients and distribute it then with the microfinance ladies, village by village in Bangladesh. That worked fairly well at the beginning, but at the end, I think it was an idea of cross-subsidization. You can sell something in the rural area, and you can do that with women entrepreneurs on a really grassroots level, but the distances were huge. A factory of a smaller industrial scale, to fill that, it really took a cross-subsidization, selling that product, which was, fully branded in a really nice fashion, in Dhaka, where the people were less malnourished. Danone Grameen, with his Shakti Doi yogurt, sold the yogurt for double the price in Dhaka. Cross-subsidized on the rural level, the additional cost of distribution. So these are the models I think one need to be very creative with, and there it becomes a little bit the mixture of the art and the toolbox again, to really make that impact happen in one company. And I think it's great that you have a partner here with Blendhub and EIT that can provide you with continuous access to adapt, learn, and readjust your business models in that fashion. Finally, I think what I really liked and learned today is there's a lot of black box to be unblack boxed in the food and ingredient industry, and not only in the food ingredient industry, but also in the retail sector. Who knows really what he or she is buying in a retail market? How can digitization help us to not only understand whether the ingredients are just in there and its quality, but how can I make more informed choices? More climate smart choices, more choices that meet my dietary needs, instead of going potentially with my kids in a supermarket and being distracted right from the beginning to make the choices that really benefit me. So I think Blendhub's commitment to really enhance transparency, making it traceable, making it visible, using data, making that potentially investable, is so much aligned with my personal vision that I'm really glad I have the opportunity to help you today with that speech. Going forward, I mean, there's more good news for the ones that want to disrupt challenges, which is that nutrition is a perfect textbook aggregation of market failures. So if you ask yourself why we are in the status quo, that we talk about a completely new food system and many things that need to be changed, is you could write an economics book about what is the market failures of nutrition. So information asymmetry, a classic. We addressed that. I mean, consumers don't exactly understand what ingredients is in the food. Nobody wants to become a nutritionist necessarily. And then, I mean, what does it mean that I have a certain iron content, a certain vitamin A content, a certain protein content, certain calories? It's really complicated. And I think here, anything you can do on, let's say, fixing these market failures is a cutting-the-edge business opportunity for you. So this is real in a market economy. If there's market failures and there's public goods relating to that, this is something you can take into account. So transparency versus information asymmetry. Externalities. I mean, I've talked about the cost of obesity, for example, or the cost of undernutrition, or the cost of the seasonal vitamin D epidemic we have in Europe, for example, or in the US every winter. Where is the business fashion of addressing that to help to address these, to internalize these public goods? What are the public goods? I mean, it's better education, reduced sick days, increased productivity for companies, and ultimately reduced health system costs. And I mean, there's countries with a prevalence of nutritional deficiencies of 20, 30, 40%, anemia, partly 60, 70% among women of childbearing age, which has dramatic consequences for childhood survival and child development over lifetime. This is huge costs, but these costs are not necessarily, I would say, what the consumer is ready to pay for, or a government necessarily is provided investment to. And I think here, partnerships become crucial. If I would have charts, which I by purpose did not bring today, you would see two concentric circles typically: private sector and private sector business case, and public sector, public goods. And I think the sweet spot of where we want to be with our impact business models is the overlap of both. And partnership builds the bridge, not only B2B partnerships, but multi-sectoral partnerships. We have governments that have a stake into these public goods. We have government-sponsored and supported agencies and nonprofits that have the mandate to help. And I think partnership became, over the last 20 years, I can oversee, having worked intensely in that, also as a UN business partnership trainer for the UN. I think we are way beyond that. If should we really do partnerships? Can we work with business? I mean, I've heard all these reservations, in particular in the nutrition community, that, oh, they are into profit. That's a divergent goal. We are into public goods. We want to, I mean, have a healthy population. I think it's about a shared goal overspanning these diverging motivations. And the diverging motivations come often with very complementary competences. And these complementary competencies is the equation of 1 + 1 = more than 2. Because why would you partner if you just double down on something? Sometimes that works. Often it's about the complementarity. And if you look at the examples I've given, scale-up often comes with an ecosystem that surrounds a business model. So I would say first you need strategy, then you need a product, obviously first, then strategy. And then if you look at partnerships and a business model that embarks on partnerships, what is your ecosystem? What role for standards and norms, for example? Standards and norms is a very cost-effective intervention in markets. Can start with labeling requirements. And for you, it means, I mean, understanding these norms. And I hear often business people saying, and that's maybe 20 years ago, oh, regulation as such is bad for the business. It totally depends. If you have a sustainable business case, and all of you have sustainability as a cutting-edge competitive advantage. You're either very circular, you are much more climate smart than what you want to disrupt, you have a ton of, I would say, opportunities in the sustainability space. Look at the reporting obligations that come from the EU in 2024. Every kind of mid-sized company needs to report on sustainability and have an ESG report. Many businesses say, oh gosh, no, it's kind of another obligation. I think it's a great opportunity. It's really a great opportunity for you to kind of educate even larger companies that your ingredients making a big difference for sustainability can enhance the footprint and the ESG performance of larger companies quite significantly. And that's that kind of dual bottom line attitude where you need to have that business case on the one hand side, but also need an equally sophisticated play on the sustainability business case. And I think this is the winning recipe I would like to give you on the way, and seek the right advice instead of forum shopping all sorts of advice. Seek the right advice of people that can go very vertical with you on that. And I've done that 15 years, dedicated 15 years of my life, traveling 60 countries to make an impact business case on food ingredients. It was totally worthwhile to really go deep into that, adjust. It wasn't always that linear in a sense of, okay, I mean, I know that's going to work and I have tons of great partners behind me. It was a constant, I would say, experiment. At one point you reach the scale and then it lifts off and you feel like I've made it. I hope for you to give you a couple of more, in the last 2 minutes, a couple of more checkbox ingredients for success I've seen and distilled for you. So, 1, have a clear social mission and vision statement. Take that day, sit down with your employees and say, what's our mission, what's our vision? Get a facilitator to do that if you can. Understand your market and your value chain and where you sit in the value chain, and really be crystal clear that a hybrid market can exist and you just disrupt something where you take the place of that kind of disrupted provider, or you have to build that market. Sometimes there is no market for what you do. And I've worked 15 years on something there was no market. Selling ingredients to poor people, forgive me, vulnerable and low-income people in Africa, crazy. I mean, how can you think that pharma-grade ingredients go to Africa and find a market? If you know that play, you can do it. Scalability and understand your metrics and data. So you should be very clear on measuring your economic and impact success. Don't overdo it. It's not. It's a means, not an end. But you have to have, I would say, a system in place. Technology for processing, digitization, analytics, quality assurance, knowing your regulation, knowing your standards. I mean, that's bread and butter, I would say. Complementarity in the talent. You all come from an inventor, development, research space. You have a product created at one point, realizing that you are maybe not a great strategic marketing person. You need support, partnerships, hiring the right people, investing in your people. I think that's another point to take into account. Storytelling and funding. Funding, again, is a means, not an end, and you want to get self-sustainable at one point, but the typical hockey stick in results, you need catalytic funding, and that depends quite a bit on well-founded, evidence-based storytelling. Finally, user centricity and local ownership. I think that's something where a lot of potential sits in global replication. So really understanding your markets, and if you venture out of Europe, I think it's important and interesting to look at that too. Let me close with, again, congratulating yourself to being a winner today, but you won a jump board. And I hope we stay kind of connected over the coming years, and you use the technical support that Blendhub offers to scale your business from where you are currently and add impact. And it's not that impact comes on top. I think impact and sustainability is the key driver of business these days. And I think taking that home and celebrating a little bit your achievement today. I think that's my wish for the next couple of hours here in Murcia, and being with you and celebrating the success you have achieved up to this point is what I came for. Thank you very much.
We have some time to ask some questions that you might want to know about Andreas, about what do we need to focus on the future. I'll hand over the mic.
Or online, if there's any online comments.
Or if they write it on the chat online, we'll answer as them as well. I have one. So you talked about having startups sometimes focus, let's say, on the tech side, on researching, and maybe we focus too much on the specifics of a product, or we fall in love even. We've seen it even in Blendhub with a recipe, right? But then you need the market or you need the timing. So when we start losing focus, where would you advise us to start? You know, like a hard stop, and this is the first priority.
I think, again, I would start with the mindset and the self-awareness. And that's kind of putting yourself outside of your shoe and your current position and reflecting on what you are great on and what you are maybe not so great on. And I mean, if you came to the point that you are a scale-up that won an award, typically a lot of things you have done right. So you developed a product, and then, I mean, out of that confidence, and having been a consumer, not a producer probably for most of your life, there's the idea of, oh, I can develop that product from a lab scale, put it in some bags and carry it to some supermarkets and sell it there. But then being that entrepreneur, understanding, well, you know, it's a complete value chain, and from a raw material provider to, I mean, getting clean ingredients, maybe adding value with formulations, adding value with connecting with different industry segments. Food industry is a very conservative industry for a reason. I mean, food safety is a big role, and you can build a reputation over 50 years, and you can destroy it in 5 seconds or in 5 days. So I think there's a value of looking at the value chain and understanding where are you strong in and where do you need strong partnerships, and making the right choices in these partnerships. They have huge transactional costs. So getting advice on that of people that understand the subject matter and the ball game of strategic partnerships, and I think that's a good reason you're here today. I would advise you to understand first what you are not good in. I think that's as valuable as the confidence of knowing what you're good in, and then focus in a sense of investing your precious time and resources in a couple of things, and that to be the right things rather than turning every stone around. That would be my advice.
You talked about public-private partnerships, and this is always a complicated matter, especially in a world where accounting is not as global and not as connected, not as circular as it could be. What are some of your recommendations on really connecting? Because there's perhaps sometimes, and I've seen it, for example, when you deal with the university ecosystem or even the public ecosystem in Spain or other areas in Europe, there's some reluctance to anything that looks like the accounting side of things, right? It's much more philosophical than sometimes it is tangible, or so it seems. What are some of your recommendations on opening up conversation with public partners and really getting those to a place where they can actually lead to some potential positive collaboration?
Great question. I think on the meta level, there is a movement that tries to make social and environment as accountable in terms of numbers standard as the economic part. And I mean, if you look in how many people are employed to make an economic balance sheet happen in a big corp, and how many kind of very expensive people are involved in a joint venture in a company, it's hilarious how little people are dealing with the fact of making E and S accountable. even so, I admit it's not that easy, in particular with the social accountability, because if that should be investable, you need standards. And standardizing impact, I've worked on that for 20 years, and there's people much more technical than me, but it is something that is developing, and at one point, I think we need to find an 80-20 solution where any accountability and a kind of a standard for allowing companies to measure their impact is better than none or many. So I hope there will be harmonization. I know it's difficult in international relations to come to an agreement, but I know there's heavy work on that. With public-private partnerships, I think it starts with accepting this is not less technical than merger and acquisition. And you would hire an expensive law firm and probably an expensive consulting firm on top to do a strategic merger and acquisition. I would say casually going around and picking a few people you see and starting negotiations is probably can work, but not necessarily does work. I mean, you start with a need assessment, you see where your needs in your business plan are, you would screen the geographics and the institutional landscape, and then do a very strategic partnering process from, I mean, negotiating it to kind of nailing it down. There's different formats to do that. So I think it doesn't take the same army of people like you would do for a bigger joint venture, but I would invest in the technical capacity. And it's a not protected, I would say, space, but not everybody who maybe has a partner at home should do partnerships. It's like also a little bit, I would say, complicated and complex and needs some experience, like you would kind of do it for any other business. And I've worked in a position where I catalyzed a lot of partnerships and then others took over. I think that was like 15 years back, and I saw a lot of promising things failing because of the, I would say, professional capacity, not only to kind of screen and strike these partnerships, but then execute them. And there's a lot of pitfalls there. I mean, different language, different background, different corporate culture, diverging interests. How much can you nail these things down? How flexible can agreements still be? What are the governance mechanisms? I mean, lots of good questions where I feel if you invest in that, a certain quality standard helps.
Is there still time? Okay, good. So earlier today, you and also Pablo were talking about the digitization or this hybrid mode of food production, but also the whole chain, and betting on that future. What are potential alternative or maybe parallel scenarios next to this hybrid digitized food system?
Well, I think that's a great statement, and I'm not sure I want to embark on alternatives, but rather would describe a use case for that, because I think here at Blendhub you have the beauty of having a portable ingredient production and food production facility, which allows to measure input versus output. And you can create not only transparency for anyone who sources these products, but at one point, if these ingredients make a big difference for society, that could also be a very investable impact case. And I mean, in the health space, you see a market for tokens coming up. So data like I'm compliant to food safety regulations or I'm compliant to nutrition requirements like added nutrients, which have a clear societal goal and have a multi-million euro and dollar societal value, not to mention the individual humanitarian aspect of that. I mean, I think it's unacceptable that in some of the countries like 20, 30, 40, 50% of the foods are just not meeting the iron or vitamin A or folic acid requirements. I think it's too late in the day to just trust brochures of people that have the capacity of other people producing brochures, and they're really good in that. But I mean, I do not want to finance people producing brochures, but I want to have the right food I kind of demand or the law is requiring. So I think we still have, again, a mindset issue that many in leadership positions haven't been exposed to the opportunities of digitization. And I think it's a job of translating it and showing and leading by example to show, well, it doesn't need necessarily complicated chemical analytics to find out what is in the food, and the food is eaten in most of the cases before you have the analytics. So I think there's really huge opportunities also in data generation. I mean, nutritional data is a white spot on the landscape. It takes millions and millions and years to come to a prevalence map in a country. There's unique opportunities with AI and ML to assess data in countries without kind of the very invasive blood sampling of whole populations. And if you then know on a population level where nutritional needs and deficiencies sit, market-based initiatives could serve consumers in a much better way. And if these consumers then would be able to understand, and even in developing countries, everybody nowadays, or not everybody, but many people have a cheap cell phone for a couple of dollars, you could much more kind of overcome these market failures with digitization, because it creates transparency and it also makes progress visible. And I think that's the challenge nutrition has. It's not for no reason called hidden hunger. Sometimes it's not very visible and it doesn't become more actionable by not being visible. And digitization has huge opportunities there.
Well, Andreas, thank you very much. A big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's time to listen to what the award recipients need to say, right? I think the main characters, the protagonists of today. So thank you, Andreas. We're going to be calling the participants one by one. You'll have 5 minutes to tell us about your idea, a bit of an elevator pitch, right? There's, I think, close to 100 people watching online as well. No pressure. To learn about what is the food innovation about, right? What is EIT Food? What is Blendhub betting for, as well as your companies individually, right? I think it's very exciting to have you here. I think it'll be more exciting to see the outcomes of this great partnership. I think Andreas talked a lot about the partnerships, talked about, which I thought was interesting, what are we not good at, and then find who in the chain is going to fill that gap, because that talks about that 1 + 1 is more than 2, right? And I think it's completely fair to say, okay, I'm not good at this, who's the best, who's greater than me, and creating this community, I think, is about also finding who can do what I don't know how to better than myself, okay? So we're going to give the floor first to Robert from Rebread. A big round of applause. Let's see, where should we set this up? Is this fine? Thank you, Robert.
Thanks. Hello, I come from Poland, from Krakow. I work in a Rebread company. We produce some alt protein resources from stale bread. We saved leftover bread from becoming a waste, and we turn it into some kind of powder with food functional properties, containing a lot of bioactive compounds also, and high protein, high fiber in it. Well, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to come to Murcia and seeing your facilities. It's really great experience to have the contact with the other participants, to share our experiences about this circularity and sustainability subject in this matter. And well, I hope that we will have the opportunities in the future to cooperate even more, to realize projects in the area of sustainable production and launching our products to the market. Thank you very much.
Next in line we have Cosimo from Aliga. Big round of applause. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cosimo. I'm sales manager at Aliga Microalgae. Aliga has the mission, we have the mission to bring microalgae from a niche supplement product is mainly used as a supplement to become more a core food ingredient. There are some challenges with microalgae, as we know, are perhaps one of the most sustainable and nutritious crops that can be cultivated nowadays. However, most microalgae are cultivated in ponds or which can often result in poor quality, for instance, uneven quality or let's say because it's seasonal in a way. Whereas we are doing things a little bit different. We're cultivating microalgae heterotrophically, which means we ferment them in a closed sterile system, obtaining a really high quality, avoiding all contamination possibilities, etc. Moreover, the other issue with the microalgae cultivated in open ponds is the bad taste, which in closed fermenters we can try to avoid. And thirdly, what makes difficult to apply microalgae in food is the fact that they have a strong pigmentation. That's why we developed a white chlorella, and we did so by random mutagenesis, so it's a natural product, non-GMO. Essentially, we identified a mutant that is not producing chlorophyll. Therefore, we have a product with a much more neutral taste and color, which we can use as an ingredient in many type of formulations. We've already tried our ingredients in egg alternatives or dairy alternatives, plant-based meat, fish, and also pasta, bread, and bakery products. And here with Blendhub, we applied to develop beverages formulations, as we think beverages are a very interesting product to deliver all the goodness of microalgae. For instance, our product contains over 35% protein, 20% fiber, a lot of vitamins and minerals. To give an example, vitamin B12, if you only eat a small portion of 2.5 grams, you get your whole recommended daily intake. So, and as well as other essential nutrients. We are right now 25 employees in the company. So we have a full operative scaled production facility where we can produce over 240 tons per year, and it's in the Netherlands, as well as having an R&D center and a pilot production in Denmark where we can produce around 40 tons. And I'd say the R&D is mainly focusing there on improving or continuing the innovation on the microalgae strains that we work with. And yeah, so we want to make a market impact with our ingredient, and we think that with our white algae we will be able to, let's say, make more and more consumers aware of the benefits of algae, and they will have, let's say, in the future, opportunities to try them in so many food formulations, thanks to the flexibility that that our white algae has in terms of formulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More interesting ideas. We have now Madeleine from Maggie Creations. A big applause for Madeleine, thank you.
Can I take this out? So that works a bit better. Hi guys. So my name is Madeleine Gielens. I'm the founder of Maggie Creations. We work on scalable upcycling of spent grain, brewer spent grain. Do you happen to know any numbers about amounts of beer produced here in the EU? No, well, I can help you a bit forward. So I come from the Netherlands. Over there, we produce over 2 billion liters of beer every year. 2 billion liters. And you know how small the Netherlands is in comparison to Spain? It's crazy, right? So those 2 billion liters of beer, they result in a residue stream of 560 million kilos of spent grain every year. So that's the Netherlands. If you then go look at Germany, they have 4 times as much. So if you look at the whole of Europe, I don't even want to imagine how much that is. I think we can cover the whole area from Murcia to Madrid. So, you know, it's a lot. These brewer spent grains are actually about 2/3 of the original malt weight that is used by the brewer to brew beer. So these spent grains, they no longer consist of the sugars and the starches, the soluble protein that is in the original malted grains, because that's all used to produce beer. But what is left is actually the most interesting part. It's fibers and it's protein. So I feel that we can no longer suffice in saying, okay, we use our spent grain to feed our animals, milk cattle, more than anything. Instead, I feel we should just keep it within our food value chain. So that is the mission of Magie Creations, to realize circular use of spent grain, to keep food food. And the beautiful thing about it is that spent grain is actually, it tastes nice. Well, not in everything. I wouldn't want to recommend you spent grain-based ice cream or something, but if you look at baked products, it really can taste real nice. It adds a certain complexity that's very attractive. And then in addition to that, it's quite nutritious, because you know, everything we should eat less of is actually in the beer. And we just eat what we should eat more of, proteins and fibers. And then again, it's also sustainable. If you keep the spent grain stream in the food value chain, we just significantly reduce the amount of CO2 that we emit. We use less farmland. We use less fresh water to produce our food. So it's just a very logical, I would say, thing to do. And then to close off, it's actually also a quite functional ingredient. So there's enough reasons to make sure that we keep it in the food chain. And that is what we do on a daily basis. We have a team of 10 people in the Netherlands, and we are preparing an investment in our own production facilities, with which we will produce or process 11 kilotons of spent grain on an annual basis. So I'm very happy to be here and to be able to enter the network of the Blendhub people. Thank you very much for your kind, reception today. And yeah, I hope we can join forces to make sure that food production becomes a lot more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madeleine. Next up, it's Pedro from Landratec. Big round of applause. Thank you, Pedro.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pedro from Landratec. I'm co-founder and CEO of Landratec. Landratec was created. We are a startup, a very recent startup, and we were created to value the acorns, which are the most abundant fruit of our forests. Actually, almost 33% of the European forests, and in fact worldwide, in the Northern Hemisphere, are forests that produce acorns. And currently we are not doing anything with it. Well, only the Spanish people, they produce balota pig. But more than 90% of the acorns that are even produced in Spain, they are wasted. And the acorns were actually the staple food for several years. So I have your attention now? Thank you. So the acorn was the staple food, a staple food throughout the world, everywhere where were these forests that produce acorns. And actually only Portugal produced like 3 times the needs of gluten-free grains, pulses and seeds. Then it's needed for all the human, in acorns, then it's needed for all the human European Union. So you can imagine how much are we wasting of acorns. The acorns were the staple food. We know now, and the literature shows us that it's very rich in starch, slow digestion starch, but also it's rich in antioxidants, also in minerals that we can get from other grains, for instance, potassium. And it also has prebiotic fibers, which is very interesting, and it's gluten-free. So it's completely aligned with the market trends. So we were created really recently. We are a startup. We are 4 of us now, but we are raising a seed round, like to install a production line of almost 300 tons of acorn per year, which is just a small grain in the amount of acorn that is produced only in Portugal. But we want this to become a trend for all the Europe and Northern Hemisphere, so we can value our forests and also protect. Our forest is the biggest barrier that we have against climatic changes. So, like, protect our best barrier against something that is endangering our ability to produce food, and cropping from a marginal land. So, as the forest, like we cannot crop food. Now we can with acorns from marginal lands. So we brought here a roasted acorn, which is a sort of coffee substitute. It was used in the past. Like, in fact, we like are rescuing from the past something that was used in the traditional medicine here in Spain. It was used for treatment of digestive issues because of the prebiotic fibers, we know now, and also because of the anti-inflammatory properties that it has. But we have to have a product adapted to the needs of the market, to the needs of customers, and we are counting on Blendhub to help us doing that, to identify the best market, to identify the best technical solutions for this amazing product. And we thank EIT Food and Blendhub for the opportunity to be here, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Excited to work with you. Next up, from Spain, Olga. A big round of applause with Gold Protein.
Thank you, everyone, for staying here. I have a very pleasant day today. Thank you for hosting us. First of all, I would like to take my time to say thank you. Thank you to the Blendhub, for the Blendhub team. I want to say names: Javier, Juanjo, Pablo. I feel very lucky to work with you. And the second, to the EIT team, because it's a privilege to be here. I feel very happy. I'm going to be very succinct. I think I have spent the whole day talking with many of you. Ah, sorry. What's better? Okay. I think you all know what is the challenge in terms of protein and what we do. I'm trying to share with you some tips. In terms of the challenge that the world is facing in terms of protein, what we do is to take a waste from the animal industry to put into value in high value protein, which is decolorate. And in terms of what the performance, it has all the amino acids, it's rich in iron, and it's very versatile in terms of application. We have the 3 flags, so it is safety, sustainability, and circular economy. And in terms of economically, it's a very cost efficiency solution. So we take a waste and put it in the market a very high value solution. I think I've spent many time with all of you talking one by one, and I have said to all of you that I have more questions than answers. I really, we are in a point that we need to jump from the lab to do the next step, to choose the partner, what is the profile of the partner, which is the sort of the solution that we need to go. Thank you, Andreas, for being inspiration, because you launch questions and say, I don't know, because depending on the market that we should go, we need to find a partner. So we have a very good input, I think. The performance of the protein is wonderful. The analysis is exactly what the market is demanding. It has performance in terms what the economy is demanding. So for us, the next step is what we can do. So in terms of the challenge that I need that we need to face is what is the next solution? When I was listening the rest of the participants, that is very inspirational for me. I was thinking, I have in my back what exactly what I need is. I would say that I'm a trained runner, but I'm not. I'm just a woman who go out, run, enjoying the nature. But I used to have this. I used to go out in the nature, and this is what we want. We want that when we go out to the supermarket and the shop, the next snack that we take is made with gold protein. This is my challenge. And what we need from Blendhub, from EIT, from wherever of you, is please, come to us. Let's go together. Let's think together, because this is what we want. But I would like to go further, because if this snack or a cookie or whatever cover the nutritional requirement from a kid in South Africa or South America or any low-income country, I think we are more than happy. The challenge was achieved. This is all that I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olga. We love questions in Blendhub, so it's great we love questions in Blendhub. It's great you bring questions. Okay, another participant, Aviaya from Circular Food Technology with their solution, a grain.
Hello, my name is Aviaya. I'm CEO and co-founder of Grain. In Grain, we are upcycling spent brewers' grain. I'm very happy and proud to be here today, and I want to thank the Blendhub team and the EIT Food for their confidence and their trust in what we're doing in Grain. But I want to take a step back, because the food system is broken. There's a gigantic discrepancy between what is needed, what is available from nature, and the nutrients that we can find. The food system is broken. According to the World Bank, and Andreas already mentioned this, malnutrition is one of the world's greatest, but also least addressed challenges, development challenges. And the human and economic consequences fall hardest on women, on the poor, and on children. We need to face this challenge if we want the world to continue as it is. In Grain, we are producing nutrient-rich, functional flour, high on protein and high on fibers. We are doing this from a plant in Copenhagen, where we are now producing up to 40 tons per month. we are making the world a better place. I'm a little off today, I'm sorry. When we look at the food system, we have a lot of opportunity to change the way things are by working together in developing new ways of managing our side streams. Madeline already told us that brewer's bank grain is a huge side stream. There are more than 40 million tons available worldwide. And all we need to do is to dry up the grains and mill them into flour. And then we have a very easy to apply and versatile ingredient that can go into every kind of applications that we need across the world. So together with Blendhub, we are developing the world's best sourdough bread, high on nutrients, rich in aroma, and just super delicious. And we want to thank Blendhub for the challenge, and we are looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, more interesting solutions. We have now May-Britt from Alver. Thank you very much, May-Britt.
Hi, I'm May-Britt Buskov-Bridges. I am the co-founder of Alver. And at Alver, we have developed a range of high-protein vegan foods with microalgae. So we've now just heard how fantastic microalgae are because they are rich in magnesium, potassium, zinc, vitamin B. They have a full amino acid profile. But what we haven't discovered so much about microalgae is also the functional side. So what we have done is we have a B2C part of our business. So we have this range of high protein foods that are on the market under the brand Alver. That is to create a brand and to create awareness in the consumer. The consumer now is aware that microalgae are good for the health. Tick. Secondly, because it's microalgae and it's a fermentation process and it's super streamlined, there is very little, there's no extraction, for example. So it's basically the cell, it's fermented, it's washed, it's dried, it's packaged. There's no extraction, which means that it's super streamlined, which means also it can become very affordable because there's very little processing in it. So, tick, sustainability. Now, if we're going to have a market and we're going to actually sell our product, what's the most important thing? That it tastes good. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to buy it as food. So we have developed then a golden chlorella, a chlorella which is yellow. We use it in our dry food applications. So we have it, for example, in our pasta, in our granola, in our bars, in the powders. Our pasta, for example, has 21% protein. It's equivalent to meat in terms of protein, but it is a fully nutritional, balanced meal with the chlorella already integrated into it. Now, with the golden chlorella, we have all these other applications we can do. So we have now scaled up our production as well. So it's a heterotrophic fermentation process. And now that we've got it scaled up, we can also go B2B. So we can offer it to the food ingredients industry. So we can do egg replacement. We can do alternative dairy, alternative meat, chicken, fish. And this is very exciting because the food industry has realized, finally, that they need to go away from chemical binders, chemical E's, yeah, so methylcellulose and all of that. So this is where we're actually bringing a concrete solution into the food industry and saying, please, the consumer wants you to take out the E's. Here we have a natural solution which is affordable, is nutritional, and can go into any type of food, whether it's sweet or savory. So that's Alver in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, May-Britt. And the last of the participants today with us, but not least, in person, because we have two other companies that are not able to join today with us, is going to be Nina from Green Spot Technologies. Big round of applause.
So hello, my name is Nina Granucci. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Green Spot Technologies. And an interesting thing for Green Spot is that we actually use upcycling, but we maximize the output of upcycling with fermentation. So we have developed a fermentation platform where we use the side stream from the first transformation industry. If we take an example, the tomato, seeds and peels, after the tomato sauce production, the extraction of the juice, we take this side stream, we use our fermentation platform that will transform and will modulate and change the flavor profile, the functionality, and the nutrition of the side stream, and then we can put that back as a food ingredient. Today, GreenSpot is a team of 20. We have set up our industrial demonstration plant in France, where we are based originally, and we have a capacity installed of 100 tons per year of output. We can use these ingredients in different applications. Just to continue the example with the side stream of tomato, the ferment up tomato, one of our lead ingredients. We use that in tomato sauce, where we can, because of the fermentation, actually create compounds that enhance the perception of saltiness. So we can decrease the amount of salt you put in tomato sauce or ketchup or barbecue sauce, and still putting fiber and also creating the nice texture of this type of sauce. So it's a multifunctional ingredient and it's natural. So we have a clean label ingredient for this type of application. So GreenSpot, we are very proud, and our mission is to challenge the food waste paradigm to feed a better future. And we have a very ambitious mission, but we are very excited to be able to at least help a bit on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nina. And well, thank you for all your ideas. I think it's great to work with you. And I need to mention, because this wouldn't be possible without EIT Food. And this is the time for handing over the awards. So Adam, Lorena, and Peter, you need to equip yourselves. This is the moment we were waiting for. As Henrik mentioned this morning, we've talked a lot today about the 1 + 1 is more than 2. We've talked about the partnerships. We've talked about private-public sector collaboration. And I think this is one of the great examples in the industry, in a very traditional industry, that could be a great first, like Henrik said today, right? I think today is a first day for many things, the first time for new things, right? We talked about first adapters. We talked about innovators. Thank you. And I think the partnership, thanks to Andy Zinge as well, CEO of EIT Food, who we started the partnership with. We're here today, thanks to the team of Blendhub as well. And for the award, we're going to have the EIT Food team, the ones that have been participating in the judging of the proposals, in the organization of the awards, of the challenge, and of this event today. So if they are ready, well, one question.
Or a comment.
Yes.
I would invite, I hear a lot of companies here. I think everybody that I heard was tremendously interesting. Maybe I'll get the mic and just... I think there are a lot of tremendously interesting projects here, and some that are operating inside the same space. And I think I just wanted to touch upon something that Andreas said, and just take it one step further and say that I think it should be a shame that anybody falls into the trap of thinking this is a zero-sum game, that anybody is going to be the sole winner in this industry that is as complex as the food industry. I think you're all up against much bigger things, and I think the transformation of the industry to really adapt and uptake all of these ingredients, these new ways of eating that you're bringing to the market is extremely important. So I would just invite the idea that really, it's really not a zero-sum game, and in fact, I think there's a lot of potential for collaborations with people with similar products, because ultimately, you're trying to change a market, you're trying to create a market, and that's going to be no easy task, especially not if you do it alone. So just a thought that came to my mind while we were waiting here for the award giving.
Thank you, Jacob. I think we also talked about the questions. Sometimes we don't have the answers, and I think one important question that we want to answer during our project together, right, during the coming months, is many times the question that comes up is, how do I start something? How am I successful with something when I'm the first one on it, or one of the first ones, right? When you're breaking ground on a specific protein, on a new ingredient, on upcycling waste. So many times when you talk about successful product, you talk about the team, you talk about the product, and you talk about a market for that product, right? So how can we, is there a market there? Do we need to create it? Do we need to empower it? Because maybe it's already there. So I think that's one of the interesting things we'll do together, which is looking at data, something that we also talked about. What are people saying nowadays? And I think with the tools we have available in terms of the hybrid digitization, right, and traditional industry, what are people saying now? Social media, in news, in articles, what is being published, what is being talked about, and contrast it with what are people doing. Because this is something that's a paradox sometimes by the consumer, right? We say something and then we do something else. So how can we see those things? Okay, people say this, how are people consuming, right? What are people buying, actually? And at what price, right? What's affordable, depending on the market we go into. And that's something that helps us also focus on the innovation, which is target a specific segment. I think, and during lunch, we talked a couple of us about, in a startup, you have many things, you fall in love with an idea, and you want to do all at once, right? We talked about different protein sources. Okay, this could be used in many different food categories, okay? You cannot start all at once, right? So which one is the best one to start with? Where is the market? What are people saying? So I think that's also something that we'll find out in the coming months with you. And I think we're ready to hand over the awards. So please, a big round of applause to Lorena Savani from EIT Food. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo. Again, thank you all the winners. We are really excited about today's journey and to hear a great speech from Andreas and also to greet the nice speech from all the winners. And we are very happy now to provide the first prize to Rebread to Robert Planczynski. Robert, please. Congratulations. And this prize is really for your innovative food process solution that helps to reduce bread waste while introducing new nutritious ingredients back into the market. So congratulations again for the prize. Again, thank you. Great, thank you. Robert, a picture. Gracias. ¿Qué pasa?
All right, we have another one, Aliha. So, Cosima, for their initiative in the development of a sustainable, healthy and nutritious beverage with their plant-based, chlorophyll-free chlorella powder. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. And from the Netherlands, Maggie Creations for their custom-made upcycling process, turning spent beer grain into a very nice bread that is healthy, sustainable, and tasty.
Thank you very much. So we go to the next one from Portugal. To Pedro Babo for the Landratec. Congratulations, Pedro. It's for their production of bioactive rich extracts from a local acorn-based powder used in different applications such as coffee substitute. So congratulations as well. Thank you. Thank you. Este es la otra.
And now is the time for keratin. Olga Alvarez, Spain, for their innovative ingredient gold protein produced with hydrolyzed decolorized protein powder from livestock byproducts. All the best.
All right, thank you. And because we at EIT really believe in upcycling beer grain, the award for circular food tech.
And the next prize goes to Netherlands, to Alver, to Majbrit Biskov Bridges, which is for their innovative solution for emulsifiers and jellifiers based on their fermented diamond chlorella. Congratulations.
And now, Bonjour France, Green Spot Technologies and Nina Granucci for their fermented and upcycled multifunctional ingredients, fermented up flours based on fresh waste to be used as new ingredients in food products. Very good. Congratulations. All right? The other way. All right.
All right, and a virtual congratulations to Fabermin, who couldn't make it today, who are turning aquafaba into a powder to substitute egg in the food industry. So.
And again, another big applause for Circular Fiber, that they won a prize from Italy for their circular economy solution, turning artichoke waste into a value-added powder ingredient with multiple application in food. So congratulations, Fiberstyle.
What do we do?
We can go, yes. So again, congratulations to all the winners.
So on behalf of EIT Food, thank you so much for participating. Thank you for bringing the new solutions to our food system, and we hope that all together we will change this world for better. All right?
And a last photo with the winners that I had the check given to them.
Take this one as well.
All right.
Good idea.
Woo!
Yoo-hoo-hoo. Congratulations. Prize awarded.
So this was first. Have you ever wore this? You never know when you're on or off. Yeah. It's like, oh, can I say something? done.